Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Most respected Professor Dr. S.V. Raghavan, the Vice Chancellor, most respected RN Ravi, Member Board of Management, and the person who needs no introduction, all the distinguished acharyas, all the staff of this university, distinguished invitees, and my dear students. Namaskaram, Vanakkam. Coming to this place, and I must say that it has taken a long time for me to come. I have been here for last just about 2 years completed. But the place which I have been hearing right from my childhood, because this place was visited by my grandmother, by my mother, because this is one of the Saptatirtham. And of course, generations before. The place which has been sanctified by none other than the greatest among the sages of Bharat, the manifestation of Divine Himself, Sri Adi Guru Sankaracharya. To be at this place is an overwhelming experience. Since my childhood, I and people of my generation, they have all learned in varying details about that great divine soul, Sri Adi Sankaracharya, his role in building this great country, Bharat, at a very, very young age, having traveled across, and even since I am coming from Bihar, we have also learned from our childhood how he came to Mithila. And he had the debate, the Shastrartha with the great scholar Mandan Mishra. And when we learnt and when we recall the debate in which on the one side was very young Adi Sankara, and on the other side a very elderly, highly accomplished scholar of Vedanta, Mandan Mishra. And the umpire or the judge was none other than the very wife of Mandan Mishra. We have learned these stories from our childhood. And one of the part of this story that touched me to the core was how she decided that who won the debate, who won this Shastrarth. And the story which we have been told, it's a story. Perhaps the scholars, Acharya might confirm or counter it, but the story nonetheless is very important, however, by the historical fact of it. And it says that when the two sat across after ablutions and all, bare-bodied, with the bare upper-bodied, with a garland of fresh flower, jasmine, I am told, I don't know which other flower could be, but we were told it was jasmine. And the endless Shastrartha. To others, those who were watching, those who were witnessing around, they were not able to make out. They were only impressed with the fact that here is a young person who is giving such a tough time to accomplish a scholar, but who it was difficult for even the umpire, the judge. And finally, she decided this young Sankara was the winner. And the reason she gave was that the garland, the flower, which had wilted. Wilted because Sri Mandar Mishra, in the course of the Shastrarth, he was excited, uttejita, and that body heat affected the flower. And she said, whatever be the argument, the literary and logical aspect of the argument, the fact that here the young Acharya, with his cool and composed manner, he argued cogently, and the fact that you got so excited, uttejit. No, you were, for that moment, you were in the grip of what one could call a krodha, a vasana. So, he is the winner. So, coming from a place with all these stories, Adi Sankaracharya, and thereafter the institution of Sankaracharyas have played a big role in shaping who we are. At least in my case, who am I? Reading whatever little access that I had, of his compositions, listening to the recitations. But that apart, the fact that he was the builder of this great nation, Rashtra, Bharat, and this place for thousands of years remained the center, the seat of spreading that knowledge. It was the fountainhead for several centuries, or if I not for millennia. Because Bharat, some people have difficulty understanding what is Bharat. The long period of foreign subjugation and colonization, culminating in the British colonization, and with that, the preeminence of European knowledge system, which is the Western knowledge system. It has done great harm to the very idea of Bharat. We have been through several generations, those who have been brought up in the European system of education, primarily English. European political scientists, and we have been taught in our textbook this definition of a state. And that definition of the state means a territory. It is not a barren territory, it is populated, so there are people. There is a government to govern those people and the territory, and that government is sovereign. And that is the end of political definition of a state, or definition of a political state in the European context, European viewpoint. And if you look at our country, Bharat, it doesn't fit in that. Because there were so many kings. There was not one king. There was never in history one king who ruled over the entire territory of Bharat. In fact, Bharat was much bigger than what it is today. Today it is Khandit Bharat. It is a broken Bharat. But whatever part we have, even this was not ruled by any one king. So that definition of a political state in the European context is not valid for Bharat. Some people would say that 1947, India emerged. India might have emerged, I don't know. But certainly Bharat has been there for several minutes, thousands and thousands of years. Yeah. And this Bharat, even today, even among the people who are not conscious of it, it lives in our soul, in our day-to-day rituals. Day-to-day rituals. Every auspicious occasion, we invoke Bharat. Many a times, the person listening may not be aware of what he is repeating and what he is listening, but you see the Bharat in it. Every time, every day that we take ablutions, we take Ashnanam, we invoke all the rivers of Bharat, right from Sindhu to Kaveri. Now, this Bharat cannot be understood in the context of European definition of a modern state. And that is why we call it is Rashtra. It is not a mere political state. And that is why when the Constitution of India was drafted, Framers of the Constitution, they realized the problem that our people over the generations, over centuries have lost the conscious connect with Bharat. It needed to be made explicit. And that is why the very first article of the Constitution says, India, that is Bharat. So India needs introduction. Bharat is nowhere defined. Bharat is understood. It lives in our DNA. And then, evolution of Bharat. When this draft was presented to the Constituent Assembly, there was a lot of dissident voices. They said, where is Bharat? You have said, yes, India, that is Bharat. But beyond that, we have fundamental rights, we have federal states, or union and states, separation of power, tripod of the state, that is legislature, executive, judiciary, collection and devolution of taxes, resolution of conflict. These things are there in this document. But where is Bharat? And then, the framers of the Constitution requisitioned the services of great artist Nandalal Bose of Shantiniketan of Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore to have a pictorial depiction of evolution of Bharat. And there, the first painting in the Constitution is that of a Gurukula. There is Gurukula, Rishi is teaching Veda, students are studying, cows are grazing. That is the beginning of evolution of Bharat. The aim of Bharat is, the aim of the Constitution is to create a Rama Rajya, all equal, all happy, all healthy, free from disease. And so before the fundamental right chapter, the painting is of Sri Rama Pattabhishekam, beginning of the Rama Rajya. So this is all in our original Constitution. At that point of time, it didn't occur to anyone even to talk about or think about secularism. Because secularism, everyone knows that this term appeared in Europe out of the conflict between the king and the church. Since the church was present everywhere and king was not happy with that, so there was a hostility between the two, and that gave rise to a protracted, long period of tension. And during that period, the kings had patronized several intellectuals who had created documents, what they call it, that period they call it age of reason or age of enlightenment. They said that whatever stands to reason, accept it, whatever doesn't stand to reason, reject it. And since many of the diktats or the tenets of the church were not primarily logical, so this need not be accepted. So they created a kind of awareness born out of hostility between the two. And so at one point, the matter was resolved by separating the two. The affairs of the state will be dealt by the king, And affairs of the God will be done by the church. And this division, one will not interfere in the other, is what is defined, expressed as the word secularism. In our case in Bharat, this is not applicable because in our darshan, in our science since from the beginning, and we don't exactly know when was the beginning, several thousands of years. That is why we call Bharathiya Dharm as a Sanathana Dharma. It is eternal. There is no Adi, there is no beginning. And of course there is no end. Whosoever may try to think of doing otherwise is not going to end. It's not. Here it has been respectful to all, the truth of one creator, one Parameshwara having created the creation and present in every element of creation, making the entire creation as a kudumbam, as a family. And this understanding of this oneness is expressed obviously by various people who have it. Because this cannot be appreciated by mere intellectual understanding. And that is the fundamental difference between European epistemology and Bharatiya Jnana Paddhati. Because in European epistemology, whatever stands to reason. And what is reason? What is buddhi? Is what you learn from your five senses. Five jnanendriya, corresponding bhutas. But this is limited. Our jnanendriya, each of them, there are infinite color, we can only see certain number. Infinite notes and sounds, we can only hear finite. So the very fact that these indriyas are finite, the reason itself is finite, and it is a dynamic process. Whatever I have learned today morning, maybe something new comes to me, it will change in the evening, my understanding will change. And that is why in our Shastra it says, it cannot be understood by tarka, by logic. And so, to have the appreciation that the entire creation is a family, we have to go beyond this finite consciousness. And that is where what the Rishis says in the Vedas, to appreciate the meaning of it, we have to transcend the physical limitations of our sense organs. And that is where it takes to Adhyatma for that anubhuti. And when the buddhi which we acquire through our finite senses, and anubhuti that you acquire, you appreciate, you experience through your transcendent capability which one develops through meditation and other practices. The two is the blending of the two is jnana, is jnana. So, this unity of the universe, oneness of the creation, there are people who express it differently. That is why even there is a tenet in our Vedas that says, Eko sada viprabhavda badanti. People have expressed it. That is why we have multitudes of Samprudaya. So there is no question of saying that, no, this Sampradaya is right, that is wrong. These are all. It is all inclusive. So much so that even those who talk about eradication of Sanatana, we cannot say that they are not ours. They are ours. The moment we say they are not ours, they might be gripped with the asuri shakti. But they are ours. We cannot say that, no, they are not ours. Because the moment I say, I cease to be a Sanathani, I cease to be what I am supposed to be, a Bharathiya. Now, this understanding of Bharat we know the world is in a state of tamas, where people are fighting greed, conflict of interest, we have wars, conflict among humans, that is wars, millions of visible, invisible wars, conflict with environment, leading to climate crisis. This is not a sustainable world. Such a world filled with so much of a conflict or conflicts of all kinds and equipped with weapons of such mass destruction. There are so many countries in the world who have such a huge arsenal of nuclear weapons that they can destroy the whole earth many times over. It's a miracle that an equilibrium, or maybe unstable equilibrium, however it may be, it is continuing, but one doesn't know when someone's mind goes off and we see the destruction. It was in this background, with this concern, that when our country, Bharat, became independent, on that day, on the 15th of August 1947, one of the great rishis of Bharat of modern times, Rishi Aurobindo, a great scholar of Vedantic and a seer, I won't call him mere scholar, a seer, he jotted down on the day, on the fateful day, and there he wrote, "The moment has come. Moment has come for Bharat to discharge its divine mandate." He says that in the entire universe, Earth is the only planet where life, the consciousness is in the state of evolution. Jada, Jeev, Chetan, Manushya is further evolution. This is the only planet. And even science has so far established it is only this. And on this planet, which is unique in the universe, Bharat is the only country where this light, this jnana, this knowledge of universal oneness was given to us by our rishis thousands and thousands years ago. Because when we see all one, when I see myself in all of you sitting here and beyond, then the differences drop. The conflict disappears. Because Rishi Aurobindo said that, look, this conflicting world, and because he had also seen the devastating power of nuclear weapon when the two weapons were dropped on Japan. And he wondered, what was the fate of the destiny of human being? Is it self-destruction? And then he said, no. The moment has come now for Bharat to spread this light to the rest of the world. But for that, to spread the light across the world, Bharat must be samarth, must be capable. What Swami Vivekananda had said. Swami Vivekananda had said that Bharat of my dream, that is his dream, would be a Bharat whose muscles are of iron, whose sinews are of nerves are of steel, but whose heart and mind are Vedantic, compassionate. This combination of the physical power, physical capacity, material capacity, and the Adhyatmic capacity, we must be fully equipped with this. Bharat has to grow like that. Because this knowledge, this wisdom, was there with us for several thousand years. But we couldn't spread it across because we were weak. We were subjugated. We were trodden upon, humiliated by nearly 1,000 years. By people who came not to just conquer this territory, but came to destroy Bharat, destroy the very idea of Bharat. Though this is what is Sanatana Dharma. In fact, conquerors had come even in the past. But in the past, when invader came, many times they were defeated, but at times they won. But even after winning, when they came, they got enlightened by the knowledge, by the jnana, by the wisdom of Bharat. And they became us. An illustrative example was when Menander, in the 2nd century BC, when he invaded, Menander invaded and he came, and he conquered what is today's Jammu and Kashmir. It was, at that point of time, largely people were following Buddhist Samprudaya. So when Menander came and conquered this territory, he was keen to understand what is the soul, what is the philosophy, what is the darshan of Buddhism. And then he invited the greatest scholar, Nagasena, who was at the time in Kashmir. And then he invited him to his court, and there was a long conversation. It went on for months together. Menander will ask questions. He will shoot questions and Nagasena will respond. This conversation, it was documented. Menander was so impressed that he himself became a Buddhist. He became Milinda. And the conversation between the two became a canonical text of Buddhism called Milindapana. Prashna of Milind. It is a Prakriti. Milind's questions of Milind. So in the past, when the invaders came, whenever they won, they became us. Because Bharat was more than the king. Bharat was not dependent on a ruler. Bharat was a darshan. Bharat was a light. It was only after the invaders of a time came who were so intolerant that they didn't accept any other than their views, and they wanted to destroy it, that the period of pain began. Otherwise, Bharat has been the home to all the religions of the world. Whenever they were persecuted in their own land, they were welcomed in Bharat. This has been the tradition, this has been the soul of Bharat. Now today, we have to take the light. And to take the light, we have to be capable of taking the light. And we are now becoming capable. You know, there is in the Sukra Niti, it says, balino vasagaha sarve durbalasya shatrava. In this world today, you have to go by the ways of the world to an extent to see that your light goes. And for that, you have to be strong enough. If you are strong, people listen to you, you have friends around. If you are weak, you are surrounded by enemies. Bharat has to be strong. And there's a strong Bharat. Again, I would say, perhaps it is, to me it appears, and I'm sure my intuition, my thought is shared by many others. This is, again, it is a divine dispensation. Because what Rishi Aurobindo had said, it is a divine mandate, duty of Bharat to spread the light across the world, to save the humanity, to save the world. And for that, Bharat has to be strong. I think, again, it is a divine design that we have got today. A national leadership who understands Bharat, who understands the soul of Bharat, and making a fundamental departure from the way it was being treated, looked at, from the European eyes, from the European mind, to Bharatiya eyes and Bharatiya mind, Bharatiya heart, that we are now growing and the world is looking at us with a lot of expectation. We have seen only recently that the G20 summit, never before this summit was held in a manner, in the spirit in which it was held this time. Not only that, we had achieved the incredible feat of a consensus declaration of leaders. It is a disparate group, imagine. The countries who are ideologically opposed. And yet they came around. It is because they realized that Bharat, this country, today, it is not what it was in the past. And today it has the capacity to be a force for the good of the humanity. And that is why when this presidency came, the motto was Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. This is Sanatan, Sanathana Dharm, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And we say when Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, it is not only humans, all. It is rooted in our prayers, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kachiduk Bhagbhave. This is encapsulated in this short expression Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Before, we used to have our foreign policy, somebody would, for a long time we said, we are non-aligned. The world is divided in groups. We are not with you, we are not with you. Now, is it Bharatiya? It is not Bharatiya. Bharatiya has to embrace everyone. I cannot say, you may have a different view, I don't agree with your view, and I would like you to change your view. I like you to be a friend of the friend of all, not the foe, not the enemy of all. No. So to say that I am not with you, I am not with you, this narrow thinking is not Bharat, is not the idea of Bharat. And so, when we took this, Bharat took this motto as a motto to tell the world that we are with all, we treat the whole world as a family or a kutumbam. Before that, we had demonstrated it. Because under the present dispensation, you know, the world, the entire world faced, I think, people call it once in a century, but perhaps once in many centuries, pandemic. Global pandemic, COVID-19. It didn't spare anyone. And at that point of time, when nobody knew what is the way out, and when it is going to end, nobody knew. At that point of time, when some advanced countries, when they developed the vaccines, the expectation was that having realized that you cannot keep and look at the world divided, because this pandemic did not know any boundaries of a country. It has affected everyone, every house. So at least at this point of time, there would be a reawakening of compassion and that feeling that, look, this suffering is a shared suffering and we must do our bit to mitigate the suffering. So when some advanced countries developed the vaccine, the expectation was that they would share the vaccine and medicines with the rest of the world, those who were less fortunate. But it didn't happen. They looked at it as an opportunity to make money, and they raised the prices of vaccines. At that point of time, thanks to our scientists, when we made the vaccine, the world at first, they were skeptical. Now they have accepted that this is one of the best vaccines in the world. Initially they said, how could India make it? But we did. When we made this vaccine, we shared this vaccine free of cost. Vaccine and the medicine with more than 150 countries in the world. This is because we had our own problem. We had not fully vaccinated our own people. But because it is a family, the world is a family. In your family, when someone falls sick, you don't consider that problem as that problem. You don't say that, no, my one son I will feed, my one daughter I will treat, not the others. It has to be. So despite shortage, which we overcame shortly, we kept sharing with the rest of the world. We walked the talk. We demonstrated Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam in action. When it came to the climate crisis, the conflict between humans and the environment, the countries which are most responsible for it, because we know that the factor is causing the climate crisis, the major factor is carbon emission, excessive use of fossil fuel for energy. They kept making lip service, even at times denying it, that no, there is no climate crisis. Bharat showed the way. When in 2015, in the Paris Climate Summit, when the Prime Minister took a decision, yes, Bharat will show the way. And then we looked at our Bharatiya wisdom, Bharatiya Jnana. We looked at the sun god, the god which has inexhaustible energy. Can't we depend on him? Can't we look up to him? Can't we get those energies? And we started making huge investment towards solar energy. We created in 2016 early International Solar Alliance. There were many skeptics in the world. There were not many takers. Today, they have made a beeline. There are more than 120 countries who are members of this International Solar Alliance. Because today, we have shown the way that we don't necessarily have to depend on carbon or fossil fuel. Look at this God who gives you so much of energy. We have started looking at alternative ways. And we have taken today more than 40% of our energy needs. Because at the time, many people thought that India is a poor country. Yes, we are a poor country. It needs energy, because without energy, how do you grow? You need. And how can you say that, no, you can reduce on your dependence on fossil fuel? It is suicidal. No. And more than 1 year ago, we have already crossed 40% of our energy requirements from non-carbon sources. We have a target that by 2030, 50% of our energy will be carbon-free. We have set a deadline. By 2070, we will be zero carbon. We are walking the talk. We have moved towards, in a great way, towards green hydrogen. Of course, we are also tapping into others, like wind energy. energy from waste. Biofuel. We are already close to reaching, we have E20. What is ethanol 20? 20% of our fuel that we used in our vehicle, petrol, diesel, are carbon free. They are ethanols. We have achieved it. So, given the will, given the urge to save the planet, to save the humanity, we find the ways. And today India is showing the way. So the world has learned to believe that this country is capable. Its country has now woken up. It's no longer a sleeping country, the perception of which was that it was a country of snakes and snake charmers. No, this country we have demonstrated it. Today, we are, despite all this wisdom given by the economists in the post-COVID recovery, we didn't listen to them to print money and start consumption-driven economy, which is a Western concept. It is a capitalist concept. It has to be a sustainable growth. And with this sustainable growth model, today we are the fastest growing, largest economy in the world. When the other countries, advanced countries, are trying to evade recession-like situations, we are the fastest growing. In the field of technology, digital technology, we are the most digitalized country in the world. No other country stands anywhere close to us. Near 45% of the digital transactions every day happens in this country. This new country, this new Bharat, which is coming up with its and showing itself, its capabilities in the field of science and technology. It is doing so in the spirit of our Sanatana Dharm, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. This has to be, and that is why this new Bharat cannot only grow materially, cannot only grow in the field of science and technology alone. It has to grow correspondingly in a spiritual domain, Adhyatma. There has to be a cultural and a spiritual resurgence of Bharat, because only then that will be Bharat. That is what Swami Vivekananda said, that Bharat, only with this modern science and technology, it will be a poor imitation of the West. That will not save the world. That will not save humanity. And in this cultural and spiritual resurgence, this light, the blending of the two, the modern and our traditional Sanatan Jnana, this place, this institution is playing a very, very vital role. We look up to this, the country look up to this institution, this seat, this university, to continue spreading the light, continue producing true Bharatiyas. True Bharatiya, what is, it says, Agrata Sakalam Sastram Prishtata Sasaradhanu. That kind of citizenship that we need today. This institution is producing it. Today we have a mission, a national mission, because we cannot afford to lose time. We cannot say that, yes, we are doing enough. No. We have to have a sense of time, urgency, to make this Bharat so great that in true sense, a Vishwa Guru Bharat with the outlook of Vishwa Mitra, friend of the world, emerges in the next 24 years. The national leadership has set the target. By 2047, when this country celebrates 100 years of our independence, this country, Bharat, must be a Vishwa Guru. And Guru in this field of science and technology, guru in the field of Adhyatma, to spread the light that we are one family, and with a capability to bring the folks together. Because at times, it needs your strength to bring the people around with the intention to save the humanity. And with that mission, I am sure this institution, this university, which is under such a capable leadership, I have been listening to Dr. Raghavan. I listened to him briefly yesterday, I listened to him today. More than what he said, I could sense, the vibrations in your being, that here is a person who is so deeply committed, so passionate. I'm sure this institution, this great institution, which was the seat of learning, all these years will continue to be a seat of learning, spreading the light. Not just learning here, but spreading the light across Bharat and across the world. I wish this institution and everyone associated with it the very best. Once again, my pranam to Jagat Guru Sankaracharya. Please sit down. I just forgot that it is supposed to be interaction, interaction session. For the students, please feel free to shoot your questions. I will be very happy. Don't hesitate. What comes to your mind and which you are curious about, please feel free, ask the question. I hope somebody is carrying the mic around so that they can.
Sir, please permit me to call the students who have sought permission to interact with you.
Mudihonda Srividya Shodashi of second year.
Good afternoon, sir. Myself, Shodasi. Sir, how could you handle the stressful situations in your experience, sir? Could you let us know a few things?
Shreyasi, yeah?
Shodasi.
Shodasi, okay, Shodasi. Shodasi asked me a question. How do I manage, she used the word handle my stress. If you have one more question, you can stand, otherwise you can sit, I will respond. You don't have to keep standing, relax and listen. Some people don't believe me, but I tell you, I don't have a stress at all. At times my friends, my distant relatives, they ask me, hey, go slow, I'm sorry, you must be under a lot of... I laugh. I say, what? You know what? How does a stress come? A stress comes when there is a conflict within. When you are, first of all, you are not clear what you are doing, and you are not very clear about what others are doing. Because there's a stress that seemingly, as people say, that a stress comes because the people give you a stress. The best way is not to take the stress. You know what? One thing, in my case especially, it was again providential perhaps, that when I was in class 5th, my father gave me a book, Bhagavad Gita, and he asked me to memorize it. I didn't understand the meaning of it, but I memorized all the slokas, all the 700 slokas. But it became my inalienable companion through my entire life journey. When I read, every time I read, and I read often, I get new insight, new and new, and I'm still a student. I'm learning. Now it tells you about Nishkam Karma. You do your work, and don't get worried about the reactions. Brahmanadhyaya karmani sangam tektva karoti labhyate na sapape padma patra vibhamasa. You don't get touched. You develop that ability. Siddhayo asiddhayo samo bhutva samatvayo uchyate. Okay. Because I believe that first question, who am I? I don't know. I am here, all that I feel is, and that I feel is that I am here for a purpose in this world. And so in the morning when I do the prayer, I do not ask anything. All that I say is, I do not know what you have for me today. All that I am asking is, give me the strength to do it to the best of my ability. When people abuse me, it doesn't hurt me, because I know that they are all constrained by their own prakriti. Lord Krishna has said, Bhuta Gramam Imam Krishnam Avasam Prakriti Vashat. They are all brought up like this. That is their prakriti. So, okay. So, the answer is, I have yet to feel a stress.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Myself, Rishi from CSE department, sir. My question is that I want you to express your views of our ancient education system and its relevance to current education system, sir.
This ancient education system that we talk about, it was a holistic education that produced a wholesome human being. We human beings, everyone, each one of us, broadly we have three facets to our personality: physical, intellectual, and spiritual. Physical, everyone sees, it is at the grossest level. Intellectual is a bit subtle, but again, it is limited to your intellect, which you acquire the knowledge. Which is a little subtle, but the subtlest is the spiritual self. A person who grows, there may be a good bodybuilder, Mr. World, Mr. India, Mr. Chennai, Mr. Kanchipuram. You build physical growth. That's a one-sided growth of a person. I'm not saying that one should not go for physical build. I know that's perfect. It should be. Why not? But a wholesome growth of all the three facets of our Vyaktitva, our personality, where we keep ourselves physically fit, because sarira madhyam khalu dharma sadhanam. This is the medium through which you perform all your dharmas. So it has to be, physical self has to be taken care of. Intellectual self, it has to be. But a spiritual self is needed for your being a wholesome. Because once you grow that, as a wholesome human being, then you rise above the petty things, the petty conflicts, petty worries, selfishness, all these greed, all those things you rise. You are closer to that level. You will start seeing Atmot Sarva Bhuteshu. So our ancient system of knowledge, imparting knowledge, was a wholesome knowledge. It was not just one part of it. And they had a system through the Gurukula and various other ways, which I think over a long period, as I said, about 1,000 years, we have lost touch with. It is being. There are people sitting in this very institution, those who are working in it, doing great work, bringing it up. And that is why when we talk about Indian knowledge system, sometimes people, they get confused, those who had no inkling about what is Indian knowledge system. How can there be two knowledge systems? Yes. We have our Indian knowledge system. And with that, today it is very relevant, because when we are talking about Bharat, rise of Bharat has to be with the Indian knowledge system, with the Bharathiya Jnana Paddhati. It cannot be just imitating science and technology. That we must, but it has to be blended. So today, our ancient knowledge system and the way it was, it needs, because in ancient knowledge system was not a stagnant. Vedas, it was followed by so many of rishis. They came up with their Upanishad, Aranyak. They kept working on it. Because it contains the seeds of thought, which needed and which continue to need generations to work on it, to think on it, to express it in a vocabulary intelligible to the contemporary generation. It is needed. So we need all this. And so it is very, very relevant. It is a work in progress. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Myself Srilasya. So what kept you motivated to keep going on and never give up in your successful journey of becoming the governor of Tamil Nadu?
No, first thing is, what kept me going through my life? Well, initially, as a young student, there was something, as all of us, we do it, that we have some goal to achieve. We achieve it, try to achieve. By the time we achieve, we have a next goal to achieve. But at some point in life, I realized what I said before, that I am here for a purpose. Purpose is not exactly fully known to me, I must confess. But somehow I get a sense, like a compass. It doesn't have a road map. Compass gives you a real direction. It's like there is a difference between a map and a compass. Map gives you the break, what I will do tomorrow, what I will do day after, how is the road. It gives you a general direction. And the general compass of my life is to dedicate myself to the last breath in full resurgence of Bharat. That is the mission. And even in my responsibilities, in the theaters of violence, whether it's Jammu and Kashmir, whether it's the Northeast, whether it's Maoist, I had only one dharma. I am not so well-read a person. But I knew I have only one dharma. And dharma is whatever or whoever is the enemy of Bharat is my enemy as well. And I will not rest. I will not rest till I eradicate that enemy. And I know that Bharat is at a very crucial time. So many enemies around, within and without. This fight has just begun. It has to go a long way. And in this fight, I must play my role, whatever I can. And that's why I said, in the morning after when I go to my home temple, all that I say is, as I told, I do not know what you have in mind for me to do today. Just give me the strength to do his best, I will do it. I will fight it. That is what keeps me going. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your inspirational thoughts, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Harita. Did you ever imagine that you would serve the nation as the governor of Tamil Nadu, or what was your true ambition?
First of all, I must tell you, I never imagined I would be a governor. I was appointed as, I was made governor. I never dreamt, I never aspired to be governor. It is a responsibility given to me by the President of India. All that I am doing is I am trying to discharge it to the best of my understanding and ability. My goal in life, today I have told you what is my goal in life in the previous question. To dedicate myself to build this Bharat. But at some point, as a child, as a young child, I was born and brought up in a village. Village where there was no electricity. I saw electricity only after going to college when I went to a town. I studied in kerosene lamp. Every day cleaning the glass. I don't know how I've seen even today. But yes. I had my schools about 8 kilometers away without a road. I used to run to my school. And when I slept on the rooftop in the night, of course in the night when I slept, and I looked at the stars, my goal was to reach the stars, to see what is that? What are these? The curiosity. And so I pursued the career in physics to be an astrophysicist. But perhaps as the divine mandated, at some point of time, I got another way and I got into administration. And since then, I have been doing whatever responsibility comes in my way. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Special thanks to Honorable Governor of Tamil Nadu for accepting our invitation and interacting with the students.
That's all? Okay. Thank you very much, all the students. Do well. You must realize, each one of you, I'm addressing the student. Each one of you, you must realize you have a huge responsibility on your shoulder. Here you might be in a group. You are in a group. You see there are so many. That's only so long you are here in this Gurukul, you are studying. But each one of you must realize that you have a great responsibility towards building this country. And when I meet the young students, I often tell, being the Chancellor of State Universities, I very often meet the students. Even otherwise, I meet even the high school students. I tell the students one thing, that many of you are not aware of your own potential. And then I tell them that you are like, each one of you is like a seed of a banyan tree. Have you seen the seed of a banyan tree? How small, how tiny it is. And in that tiny seed is hidden a mammoth tree. It is for you to grow into that mammoth tree, whichever field you choose, wherever you are, you must rise to be that mammoth tree. And with each of you rising, Bharat will rise. Bharat, there is no other chemistry. There is no other formula. It is you who have to make it. So remember, you are not just a son or a daughter of a parent. You are, no doubt about it. Your parents must be very proud of you. You must. They must. And you must make your parents proud. But you are also a responsible citizen of this great country, Rashtra. And it's your responsibility to wake up the Rashtra wherever you are, whichever environment you are. Our Veda says, Vayam Rashtre Jagriya. It is your responsibility to wake up the nation in whichever surrounding you are, small or large. You are on a mission to make the day for this country, Bharat, so that the world is safe. Thank you.